Good evening, everyone. It's wonderful to see you all here tonight. I'm Louise Burton, the CEO of the Sisters of Charity Foundation, which is a true privilege. And I welcome you to this celebration of the students and alumni of the Sisters of Charity Foundation Tertiary Scholarship Program, and also a thank you to our supporters. I would like to start firstly by acknowledging the First Nations people, the traditional custodians of this land on which we gather today, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We respect, value and honour their history, cultures and spirituality. We are committed to standing in solidarity and to actively work for justice, peace, harmony and stewardship of this land. Thank you to our wonderful hosts, Thompson Gear, and particularly Brooke Glastonbury, for being so warm and generous in having us here. Brooke, I really appreciate it, and it's great to see you here. Thank you very, very much. But most importantly, that you believe in our program and you believe in what we hope to achieve, which is really, really important. And I'd like to also mention Cassie Brooks, who's been doing all the logistics, and she's down the back there. So let's celebrate. We're here to celebrate, and I know I've seen everybody talking to these fantastic students, so I haven't actually briefed the students, but I would really like you to put your hand up when I mention your name, if you don't mind. So we're here to celebrate the students of the Tertiary Scholarship Program, their brilliance, their dedication, and their passion to follow their dreams. In the room tonight, we have some of our current students, as well as our past graduates. Andre. Now Kim, here, Cleo, Tyra, yay, Ty, yay. I don't know if Zara's here.
Oh, she's coming a little later.
Okay, Owen, yay, Giovanni, Danny, and Tasha. Fantastic. Thank you so much for making the time to be here tonight. We know you're busy with your study and work and internships and a million other things. And what differentiates our program from other programs is it's a national program and we have flexibility, and we aim to be there along the journey with the students. Now, and I know Estelle doesn't want me to do this, but I want to acknowledge Estelle because she's the leader of this program. She does an awesome job, and I know the students really turn to her, and she's a great friend. And so I want to acknowledge you, Estelle, for the great work you do. Thank you to everyone in this room who has supported the program over the years. You have opened doors for so many young people, and your commitment to their futures is truly inspiring. Welcome to the members of the Sisters of Charity of Australia congregation. The Sisters have always believed that education is not merely a tool of knowledge, but a powerful force for social change. And I hope you've got to meet some of the sisters tonight as well. Since our scholarship program started in 2012, we have seen 27 students graduate, and there are now 30 students who are currently studying. We know that young people who have the opportunity to pursue a university degree or a TAFE diploma look forward to a whole lifetime of improved career prospects and earning potential. They go on to be active and engaged members of our community, while their contributions to their chosen fields shape the future of our country. Now I'd like to formally introduce Estelle Muller, who's the Program Development Manager, as well as Teresa and Danny. Since taking up the role, Estelle has focused on developing relationships with all our scholarship students, offering her encouragement and support, and doing what she can to help them achieve their goals. She hears firsthand about their obstacles they face and the success they accomplish. I hope you get a real insight tonight into the importance of this program through this conversation. Over to you, Estelle.
Thanks, Louise. Good evening, everyone. As Louise mentioned, we're thrilled to have so many of our tertiary scholarship students with us tonight. Many of these young people have overcome challenges that most of us could only imagine. Their strength, resilience and determination is what's brought them to this point where they are now, which is getting their tertiary education, and they're on a pathway to their future careers. So we are really honoured to have gotten to know all these young people through our program. So now to introduce you to Danny and Teresa. Danny, sorry, I'm going to have to get my glasses. Danny graduated from the University of South Australia this year with a Bachelor of Nursing, and he's now working at Port Pirie Hospital in South Australia. Teresa is in her second year of a Bachelor of Social Work honours and a Bachelor of Criminology and Criminal Justice at the University of New South Wales. So Teresa, what subject have you enjoyed most at university so far?
I think I've really enjoyed criminal law. We've had 2 subjects focusing on criminal law in New South Wales. I've learned about, I guess, the intersection of jurisprudence and the practical application of law, as well as where specific laws originate and the kind of historical significance of them. We've had some look at some really popular crimes that people are charged with in New South Wales and some really rare ones. So it's really interesting to kind of look at what all of us are doing in our lives from a criminal justice perspective. And I think it's so important to understand, you know, what you see in the media in terms of crimes and what's going on around Sydney and New South Wales. It's so important to stay updated, but also understand the origination and the justification and how that intersects with our current welfare system as well. So in my degree, it's so important for me to understand that aspect of it. And it's really interesting to learn about it in the state of New South Wales, because I love, you know, seeing some suburb names pop up and learning about some historical figures. So yeah, I think it's really fun, but it's so important as well.
And what's been the most challenging subject so far?
So this year I did a course in statistical social research. I don't enjoy maths. So I didn't enjoy statistics. And the course, I guess, was mainly about how we can collect qualitative and quantitative data, put that into a quantitative numerical form, process that through IBM software, and then translate that back into kind of discursive writing, so that people like us can understand and hopefully, you know, make conclusions and get some results out of that for use in policy and legislation. It was really challenging. There was a lot of numbers, there was a lot of symbols I didn't understand, and I don't enjoy when maths doesn't actually have any numbers and it's more symbols.
So now a question for Danny. Now that you've graduated, how are you finding working life so far?
Hey everybody, is the mic on? No? How about now? We're on, we're working, great. So I guess coming from an enrolled nursing background that I've been working in the last 5 years, and I've recently upskilled to do my RN, which I've used the foundations facilitated that journey for me. I think the biggest thing is changes in responsibility as an enrolled nurse to registered nurse. I'm learning new skills. Every day I'm learning new skills. I'm having to do things that I didn't think that I was capable of doing, which has been brilliant. And yeah, I think that answers the question. Responsibility. I think it comes down to responsibility for me. I was, as an enrolled nurse, having less responsibility, always having the option to go to the registered nurse to ask for help. Now I'm the one making the decisions, which has been challenging but rewarding in the same time. Yeah.
Great. And you're on the general medical ward now?
I am at the moment, but I have worked in many different areas. My passion is surgical nursing. I've done a lot of experience in post-op nursing. I'm really looking forward to getting into the theatre sides of things to become a more holistic surgical nurse. Working in the country, we we don't have as much resources as the city, so we have a lot of nurses that are working out there that have a lot of broad set skills, because we just have to deal with anything that comes in. So working on the general med ward at the moment, it's facilitating me learning, growing, but yeah.
Yeah, so I was going to ask what's a typical day for you like, but it sounds like there is no typical day.
Look, I've briefly touched this with some of the people that I've spoken to already, but as you probably are all well aware, the health system at the moment is crumbling a little bit in my opinion, with the ageing population. We don't have enough resources. We're often understaffed, overworked and undervalued. And so that has a lot of challenges, but I'm happy that I'm able to have a positive impact from upskilling, being able to provide a little bit more to the community. Let me come back to the question, because I'm going to go off on a tangent.
What does a typical day?
Yes, the typical day is, in the country at the moment, we are understaffed. So the typical day is we are getting work to the absolute bone. And I don't mind being busy because the shifts go quicker. But typical day is, have a look at the list. Who have you got? Oh, this is going to be a long day. But I enjoy it. I'm really passionate about nursing. I love my job. It's really a rewarding career. Each day is different. There's some days where I come home and think, what have I done? Why am I doing this? But for the most part, yeah, I do really enjoy my job.
So now to you, Teresa. What drew you to study your degree?
So I've always been really interested in child protection and what motivating factors operate within the system for us to get to the state of child protection of where we are now. And I guess coming from a background of out-of-home care, which is what I guess the eligibility is for this program, I guess I've always had this inner motivation to understand it from the other side. This course, the social work and the criminology, I think I wanted to do something multidisciplinary. I think social work, while it's such a huge area to tackle, social welfare in Australia, that's such a broad area. I wanted to understand how that intersects with criminology. I wanted to understand how the criminal justice system contributes to the welfare system in Australia and vice versa. I don't think you can fully embrace the impact you can have in one system without fully appreciating what the other does and how that works. So I think this degree, which as far as I'm aware, the only other similar double degree offered in Australia is through the University of Western Sydney. I chose to do it at UNSW because I just heard there were such great connections the university had with various workplaces, Department of Corrections, Department of Communities and Justice, and I guess I just wanted to have that really rich knowledge from my tutors and lecturers to kind of give me a good idea of what it's going to be like working in the field. And I think it's both been everything I've been expecting and everything I haven't been expecting.
That's a good answer. Danny, what drew you to study nursing? Is that something you'd wanted to do from a young age?
Kind of. I remember, this is the earliest memory that I have of when I decided I wanted to do nursing. And it's a bit of a sad story, really, because the person that installed this in me was actually being quite rude. But during my year 11 course, we had to do some work experience. And I, at that time, wanted to do physiotherapy. And so I had organised to go to one of our metro hospitals in Adelaide and do a week of work experience and just follow some physiotherapists around. And I remember a conversation that I had with someone in the lift who I was buddied with. There was, I think they were doing hydrotherapy, which was actually quite fun. Just spent the day swimming. And they had asked me, "Oh, what are your grades? What are you getting in school?" And I said, "Oh, C's and B's." I was pretty proud of that. I wasn't failing. And they said to me quite firmly, "Oh, you will never be able to be a physio. You have not got good enough grades." And I suppose that sparked a bit of a thought process for me, and I decided that maybe physiotherapy is not what I want to do. I knew I was passionate about helping people, and I looked at nursing as an option, and the more I looked into it, I thought, yeah, this is what I want to do. My career directory into nursing hasn't been as straightforward for a number of reasons, but I started my career in aged care working as a community home support worker for Rest Haven in the south of Adelaide, and I did that for a number of years, and I love that job, and I'd still be doing that now if it wasn't for some of my other aspirations to be a nurse. But yeah, I think it's just a stepping stone. I was aged care, then I did enrolled nursing, and now I'm a fully qualified registered nurse working in small country hospitals in SA, running the place and screaming inside internally, burning because I don't know what I'm doing. But I think I make the right decisions most of the time.
And just going back to your point about when you were working in aged care, what was it that you enjoyed about caring for people in their homes like that?
Yeah, good question. I really liked the connection and the conversations. I didn't like washing people. I don't like washing people, but I will do it because it's part of the role. But my role in the community was I would take people to appointments. I'd come and do washes and ADLs and then help with that sort of stuff, activities of daily living. And I would also do shopping, which was great because I got to spend other people's money. But some of the stories that I had from some of my regular clients were brilliant. Like some of them were telling me war stories. I mean, they would tell me the same story every time I'd go there because they'd be, they'd have cognitive deficits and they'd have Alzheimer's, dementia. But that was always something that I was really passionate about. It's learning about who the person was before they get old and decrepit, and there's a lot of interesting, fascinating things that people do with their lives. Yeah. And I think I pride myself on having good communication skills, and being able to have these conversations is a privilege.
Yeah,
that sounded pretty good.
Sounded pretty good. I think we agree with you on the communication skills front. So Teresa, just taking you back to when we awarded you the scholarship, how did that make you feel when you received the scholarship?
I think I felt so immensely privileged. I think all of my childhood growing up in care and kind of through my high school years, I'd been in this place where I felt like I didn't belong with my peers. I didn't feel as though I was able to have the same high school experiences as them, the same, sports experiences, the social experiences. And I think when I was awarded this scholarship, I couldn't just begin to imagine the amount of ways that I could begin to truly live my life. Because of what this scholarship has enabled me to do. And I think I was also in, a time of my life where I just turned 18, everything was happening, I was discovering, the wonders of all the things you're allowed to do once you're 18. And I was clearly having a lot of fun with it. And kind of being in this time of change, but also being able to look forward to fully embracing that, because that's what this scholarship has allowed me to do. And having that vision and that imagination when I was awarded this scholarship is what I think really made it magical, and everything felt so possible.
And Teresa, I think some of the audience is sort of always interested in knowing what kind of things you spend the scholarship money on. Like what's that allowed you to do, or what's that been helpful for you to be able to do?
I'm afraid it's not as terribly exciting as you may have been imagining. When I was living by myself after I'd left foster and out of home care, so in a group home, I was living by myself in this tiny little studio apartment that you could, walk across in a good 3-4 strides. And I could walk straight from the bathroom to my bed to the kitchen in one step each. So I was spending my money on rent. I was spending the scholarship money on utility bills. We love those. I was, discovering all these, you don't just have a phone, you need to pay for it. Same with water and electricity and gas and all those really fun things. I also spent the money on a laptop to enable me to not use this, 10-year-old thing that was, slowly breaking down every time I opened it at university in class. And to help with groceries as well. I think you never realise truly what groceries you do need to buy until you actually need to do it. And all the pantry essentials and all the food, and discovering that as a little child when you go into Woolies and Coles and you said, oh, I want that. Yeah, now you actually need to buy it with your own money. So yeah, the scholarship money has actually allowed me to relieve so much pressure off of life and not being able to worry that I won't be able to make my next rent, or I won't be able to pay that, and what the implications that'll have.
Thank you. And Danny, it's been a while for you since we gave you the scholarship, I guess, but can you remember how you felt when you got it?
Yeah, I was probably pinching myself a little bit. I was quite ecstatic, really. For me, it was a huge financial burden lifted from my shoulders. Having gone to uni previously and dropped out, and just not being in a state where I was mature enough to do my nursing, I did eventually come back to it, and I've been being successful now. But the cost of stationary laptops, uniforms, a big cost for me was having to pay for accommodation to do placements down in Adelaide. I come from a small country town about 200 kilometres north of Adelaide, in kind of the middle of Adelaide and Port Augusta, if anyone's familiar. And so I remember reaching out to the university to get some support for accommodation assistance alone. But unfortunately, the university that I was going through, UniSA, didn't provide any assistance at all for rural students coming to Metro. They provided support and subsidies for Metro students coming to rural, because that's a thing, I suppose, but not the other way around. So I remember looking into what my accommodation options were for my placements, which I had to do some placements in Adelaide, and it was a good experience to see what it was like in big metropolitan hospitals, and I'll tell you what, it's a lot better than the country. But the accommodation cost alone was looking between $11,000 to $15,000. Fortunately, I sorted some other accommodation options, which was a bit less, but things like that, accommodation, uniform, stationery, nurses' watches, which I broke about 7 of them, and yeah, it all adds up. It's very expensive. Cost of living these days, can't believe it. Can't get into the property market because things are too bloody expensive in the country. Whoa. Burn a hole in your pocket.
And what would have been different for you if you hadn't had the scholarship? Can you paint that picture for us?
I don't know if I would have gone through with deciding to upskill. I think it may have not been... I probably would have, but maybe later on. It's something that I was passionate about and I wanted to do. But the other aspect of getting the scholarship was, and I know this is probably a question that comes a little bit later, but I might answer it now, is the support and the incentive to continue, because there were many times where I was really struggling through being away from family, being away from the dog and my wife, dealing with the day-to-day norms of being in Adelaide and being away from home, where I wanted to leave the program, and didn't want to finish the degree, which is life and everyone goes through it, but having that incentive and knowing that being supportive really helped me push through, which was a definitely a protective factor for me to finish the degree. Do you like that answer? Is that okay?
Like it.
That comes from the heart.
Teresa, what would have been different for you if you hadn't received the scholarship?
I think before I applied for the scholarship, I was in a position where I had just left, or I had to leave a group home. I had never lived on my own before, and I was living on my own. I was finishing up high school, and I was working my little retail job at our favourite stationery retailer, Officeworks. And I genuinely would not have been able to pay my rent and support myself and go to university. I wouldn't have been able to actually, spend several days at uni and work. It just wasn't possible. And I think having the scholarship enabled me to, I did still continue working, but to not work as much, to be able to genuinely focus on university and not just be working and just doing that little bit of uni as much as I could do to get through. I think it also made me realise that education is so important to progress and to get to where I wanted to be. If I wasn't able to go to uni, I think I would have felt very much stuck and very much kind of not knowing what I needed to do next to get to the role and to the employment I wanted to do. So I think without the scholarship, I wouldn't have been able to go to university. I wouldn't have been able to study the degree I do now, and I wouldn't have been able to develop the passion that I now have for social work and criminology. So, yeah.
So now that you feel you've got options, can you tell us what sort of potential career paths or potential jobs that you have in mind with your degree?
So I think I may have discussed this with a couple of you guys here. I've got a couple ideas in mind. The first idea is working as a child protection caseworker in New South Wales. I think you might have all seen on the news recently the burnout experienced by child protection caseworkers in New South Wales are currently, very front of media, very front of mind. And they're always desperate for more caseworkers. I think that's number one. I guess I am, worried about why people are leaving and whether going into it is a good idea. And I guess my second option that I'm kind of thinking of is a role in Canberra. It's a graduate position with the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet. And that's working on policy, working on legislation, working on advising other federal departments from the perspective of the Prime Minister and their cabinet, which I guess is a bit self-explanatory. And option 3 is working in an intelligence role, perhaps within ASIO or the ACIC. That would be down in Canberra as well. But I think there's awesome opportunities there to get into, intelligence operations and things that they probably don't tell us about. Perhaps international roles or working within, diplomatic relationships between Australia and other countries. So I think that would be really awesome. And I'm not sure what quite I'll do it yet, or perhaps I won't even do any of those things I've just talked about. But hopefully I end up somewhere I really enjoy.
Yeah, so that was sort of my next question, I guess, which is kind of a big question, but how do you picture your future right now? What are you looking forward to?
I think I'm looking forward to making it to the halfway mark of my degree. So my degree is about 5 years long. We're at the end of year 2 now, so we've got another half year to go, which is really exciting. And I think making it halfway is one step closer to the 1,000 hours of placement that I'll be doing, which will be quite a few months with the majority of a year. And I think I'm excited to know what I'll enjoy. I think placement will be a really good opportunity for me to figure out what kind of work I enjoy doing, whether I do like research and policy or whether I want to do something a bit more practical, what kind of groups in the community I'll want to be working with. Perhaps I'll, turn around and do something totally different. I guess I'm excited to see what I'm going to think in a couple months' time.
Danny, so you've graduated, you're now married to Beck, who's with us this evening. What are you looking forward to in your future?
I'm getting to the end of my graduate year, which is the TPP. I'm 7 months into the year, so I'm looking forward to finding out where I'm potentially going next, which I should find out in the next couple of weeks. we had to put down some preferences of where we wanted to go, and right at the top was my surgical preferences. So I really hope that I get them. If not, then I'll work out a different plan and we'll see how it goes. But just continue to contribute to the community, keep doing what I'm doing, learning new skills. I've often thought about, at the moment, most of what I'm doing is ward-based stuff, ward-based nursing, but for the longevity of my career, I know I'm not going to be able to sustain that. I was just saying to a couple other people before that I'm not even 30 yet and I've got chronic back issues from having to do all these manoeuvres and stuff, and manual handling of that just comes with nursing. But and also I was, which I don't think I've ever told you before, but something that's eluded any conversations that we had before is I was actually born with a congenital kidney problem, which I didn't find out until I was in my early 20s through nursing. So I've got stage 3 chronic kidney disease. And so I know that for the longevity of my career, I'm not going to be able to sustain the stress environment that comes with ward nursing. So I've started exploring some ideas of what I'd like to do. Definitely don't want to do renal. Absolutely not. Get away. So there's a bit of a niche idea that I have at the Port Pirie Hospital, which I'm at the moment, is we've got one continence nurse who does a lot of continence clinics, but she's female, and I just feel like there's a bit of an opportunity for me to explore becoming a male continence nurse, where we'd be doing education and stuff around. And I think as a male, I would feel more confident with a male having to put a catheter in me. So I think that's something that I might explore in the future.
And just staying with you, Danny, would it be okay for you to share with us what quality is it that you have that has helped you get through the hardships of being in care and up to this point in your life?
Yeah. This is a question that I think is really important to highlight. For me in particular, I know that I'm the eldest of 4. I've got 4 siblings that have all had similar upbringings and in and out of foster care and a lot of domestic violence, drug and alcohol abuse. I was brought up by mum who had a lot of mental health issues, and she obviously lost custody of me at numerous points. But I kind of always, as the eldest of 4, always thought that, I kind of wanted to lead by example and be a good role model for my siblings. I remember one thing that mum did teach me, which I still hold on today, is that she always taught me that, I'm the man of the house, which actually, probably looking back now, was probably not a nice thing, because that probably put responsibilities on me that weren't very fair. But yeah, I've always tried to be a good role model for my siblings, who unfortunately have followed similar trajectories to what my upbringing is like, and they've lost their kids, and well, I'm pretty much estranged from my siblings and my mum and dad. But I think there's some key things that have helped me get to where I am today. I have always had good morals. I think I got them through my faith journey. Especially through my younger teenage years, I was often at church, involved with the youth group. I was a leader. I think that was probably gave me a sense of family that I never had, and that was a huge thing for me growing up. I've got good support with my nan, who would have loved to be here today, but we did not eventuate. And she's been such a great role model, drinking partner, rock and roll partner. I'll go to the RSL and have a drink with her, but she's great, and I'm going to miss her dearly when she's not here anymore. My auntie and uncle, who have also been tremendous role models for me and support, and in that respect. I think I've always stuck with the right crowds, tried to be a good role model. I've had good morals. There's probably other things that I'm forgetting right now because I'm just going to go on with it, but yeah, that's it, I think. I might come back to it later if I remember, but...
And Teresa, would you be okay to answer the same question with us? What quality is it that you think that you have that has helped you get through the hardships of being in care and getting up to this point in your life?
I don't know if I can pinpoint a particular thing. I think it's just my desire to get on with it and to not let anything that's making my life unjust defeat me. I think when I was in care, there was such a sense of injustice and how unfair everything was, and how I wish I was in a different situation and around different people and living in a different place. And I think there were so many times where I felt like I wish I had someone to come and rescue me. And I wish that there would be someone around me who would just come and swoop in and said, all right, I'll take you away from this. And I think the sense that I had, which made me continue through all of that, is my desire to be that for someone else. I think I want to be in a position where I can develop that relationship with someone, with a young person, and do that and give them that sense of reassurance. And now I know this answer doesn't align with the roles in policy and legislation I was talking about earlier, but I think those are so much equally as important to creating change, especially from a local community kind of level, and then also from a state and federal kind of level. And I guess my desire has always just been to stay at school, to make sure that I keep being friends with who I'm friends with, to make sure that I'm try and have as many of those normal childhood experiences as possible, and to kind of get to where I want to be in life. And I'm not sure if I can quite articulate what that is, but I think I'm along that journey. And yeah.
Yeah, I think for the audience, I think we're listening to you both, and you're expressing that so beautifully. Just one thing that's constantly amazing to me, just working with all these young people in the program, is just how great they all are going to be as citizens of our communities. So, and I think you've expressed that really beautifully. So I guess a final question for you both. Danny, I'll go to you with this one first. What would you like everyone in this room to know about the challenges of completing a tertiary education when you can't rely on family support?
It's difficult. Not having that stable upbringing, which I guess when I was going through it as a young child, and I block a lot of it out now because there's a lot of trauma involved and a lot of PTSD, and I don't like to dwell on it. I've lost my train of thought. I've been derailed. That's a pun. That's good. Can you ask me the question again? I'm completely lost.
Sure. Just what would you like everyone in this room to know about the challenges of completing a tertiary education when you can't rely on family support?
Yeah. So I think I was going to allude to the fact of like the financial burden. That's a big thing. When even with we've got the HEX debt, but it just goes up with indexation. It doesn't go down. But also things that I probably people may take for granted is I've done this assignment. Can you proofread it? I'm lucky that I've got Beck and she's great, and I don't proofread anything because she'll be on it for me. But yeah, I'm not sure if that answers the question, but I think that's all I'm prepared to say at this point.
Yeah, of course. That's absolutely fine. Teresa, is there anything you'd like to share just with everyone in this room about the challenges of completing a tertiary education?
I think I want to start talking about the challenges from the experience of when you start to think about tertiary education. That's at the end of high school, right? You start choosing your uni courses. You're not really quite sure what you're going to be better at doing, or if you should do something that perhaps earns well but you don't enjoy. And I think I saw a lot of my friends struggling with that, but I was struggling with the fact that I had to leave care. I had to move out from a group home that I was living in. I didn't know where I was going to go because I don't have family in Australia, or anywhere really. And tertiary education just didn't seem achievable at the time. It didn't seem like it was something I wanted, not that I wanted, but that I would be able to do. And then I moved into a space of loneliness. I think once moving out, out of a family home is an experience. Kind of shopping by your own, getting yourself to places, getting yourself to work, and kind of that emotional toll of living by yourself is such an experience. But I was doing that at the age of 17, so I was not quite 18, and I was living by myself, and I was still working, and I felt like I was doing all these very much adult things, but I wasn't an adult. And I think it was that level of loneliness and despondence I felt. I think, very much abandoned. So I think tertiary education has very much given me something to grab onto, something, with a future date set in stone that I know when I'll graduate, provided I try hard enough, and something that keeps you going. I think high school ending was such an strange point in life because you don't know where you're going to go next. You don't know if you're going to work, you don't know if you're going to go to uni or TAFE or vocational education. And I think uni really just gave me that foothold I needed to keep going. And from there I've started a really wonderful role I'm in currently with fleet management for an NDIS company. And I think I've built everything around the fact that I've been able to go to uni, and it's been the structure of my life for me. So I guess coming back to, off my tangent and back to your question, I think I just want you guys to understand that everyone's journey to uni is so different, but it's so difficult and it's so challenging. And I think sometimes you feel so alone. And it's so difficult to actually get that motivation up and commit yourself to such a long degree, but it might also just be what you need.
Could I elaborate on that? I've come up with a couple other ideas.
Please.
I guess just to elaborate on that, I don't have access to the bank of mum and dad, which is, I know I'm bringing it back to finances, but that's the biggest barrier for me. But also, out of the 3 generations before me, I'm the first one to go to uni. They don't have the understanding of what it's like, the hardships, having to do assignments and staying up and doing all-nighters. So I think that's also a challenge for... That's all I'm going to say.
So we are very proud to have you in the program. We're very proud of what you've achieved.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Yes, I'm cutting you off.
No, go for it.
Because they don't have that understanding or know what it's like. It's really difficult. I don't think I've ever had my parents tell me they're proud of me. Obviously Beck does all the time. And it's actually something that's really hard to accept a lot of the time. Because I just have no idea. They're not involved in my life at all. Anyway, you can continue now.
Well, I was just going to say, are you proud of yourself for everything you've achieved?
Yeah, I'm proud that I'm putting cannulas in, giving people IV antibiotics, triaging people, getting stressed out of my brain, but doing what I need to do and being safe about it.
Yeah, and I bet your patients really love dealing with you.
Yeah, and I tell them all the time, get a feedback form, fill it out so that management knows.
And Teresa, you've had amazing results at uni so far. You're doing brilliantly at your workplace. Are you proud of yourself as well?
I think I feel quite similarly to you in the way that it's so hard to feel proud of oneself. I think it's difficult to applaud yourself when you've come from a position where no one's ever done that for you, or no one's ever recognised that you're actually able to achieve something that's meaningful. But I think what I've now realised and learnt now that I'm, adulting and going through this university experience and living with my partner, who's just sitting over there, is that there's so much you can achieve in life, and why not be proud of it? Why not celebrate yourself, and why not celebrate how hard you work to get things? I think that's something that I've really had to learn, and it's very much been a learning experience. And I think I'm still learning how to congratulate myself, how to celebrate myself, how to be proud of my achievements, and how to use that emotion to motivate myself on to keep going. And I think that's such an important thing to have in your own life, not just because you want to be, selfish and say, yay, I did a good job, but also to know that within yourself you're capable of doing these things. It's possible, and it's possible for you to do that.
I think that is a perfect note for us to finish on. Actually, thank you. Thank you so much, Teresa and Danny, for sharing those insights and your experiences with us today. It really meant a lot to us to have you both here. I'm going to hand back now to Louise for closing remarks.
Thank you, Estelle. I really want to applaud your honesty and frankness. You've given us a lot of your inner self and your feelings and your aspirations. You've been totally honest with us tonight. We've really appreciated that. So thank you for sharing it. And you're both very inspiring people, and we can see you're going to be doing great things. I think we should be going to South Australia for our healthcare, don't you? And then we look forward to seeing Teresa in the Prime Minister and Cabinet's office. Yay! Oh dear. So look, I just wanted to really update you on how we're going with the program for, as we plan for the academic year of next 2025. This year we had 14 stellar applications for the scholarship program, and they were all deserving and absolutely similar sort of calibre. And unfortunately, we had to turn 3 of those students away because we didn't have sufficient funds. This year we're sort of busily trying to secure as much funding as we can, and we've currently got funding for 3 university and 3 TAFE. And I think as the program is getting better known and working very closely with the providers, we actually think we're going to have an incredible influx of applications. So, I think it's going to be a really busy year. So I'm asking you, if you're able, that if you would like to make an extraordinary difference into, as we've seen with the scholarship program with these young people, Teresa and Danny, we ask you to consider whether you would like to support one of our life-changing scholarships for 2025. It does give these students the chance they deserve. And I had a beautiful supporter of the foundation write me a note who wasn't able to come tonight. He used to be a principal of the school, and he's 95, and he loves the students, and he said they are our future. So it is true. We can see we're totally inspired with you. Thank you very, very much. I hope you'll mingle and get to talk to the students because they've got gold dots on, and I know that just talking to them, what they're achieving just blows you away. So please enjoy the generous hospitality of Thompson Gear, and once again thank you very, very much, Brooke, and also our great friend Julie McCann. Julie has been working with the foundation just recently on a few projects and knows us very well. So, and just please get to chat to the sisters. And for those donors who've been along the journey with us for many, many years, we are so grateful, and thank you for continuing. And I hope you feel it's been a rewarding experience and there's many more opportunities. So thank you to everybody. Good night.